My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. Alrighty, I want you to see how the fake moon moves as I move, and that is where Southwest is indeed stalking. This is the pattern of conduct. This is the entity that was stalking for over 20 minutes by helicopter, flying in circles around me, and all of those defendants and all of those the housing community, the people of the state, the population, that are also represented by the corporate entities that are these property management companies that are gang stalking by virtue of the maintenance of a business, the environment that is gang stalking in that specific environment that follows me. It is the prosecution of that establishment, the business, the corporate entity itself. You are being federally prosecuted while the government is targeting in concert with that corporate entity that is all of your customers, all of your employees, while you are profiting money that is criminally procured through the pattern of conduct that you are engaging in. The entities engage in this while they are stalking. I want you to see my shadows here. You are really prosecuted as a corporate entity where you're looking at the impossible light where the government is stalking me. The government is stalking me with a population following me from place to place is what this is evidence of. The government is stalking me in planes that are not headed to a destination that is judicially noticed fact. It's not a takeoff, and the entity is stalking like they were by helicopter at the OVITT Family Community Library. And as I leave that venue, the entity is stalking as a neighborhood as well, maintaining surveillance as I am traveling. This is my shadow on the ground, as you saw my shadow upright, and this is also my shadow that's on the walls, on the floors over here. Very faint, but this is all impossible light activity while the entity is indeed monitoring me. This is Bethel Congregation. The N is Barber and Beauty. This is Bethel Congregation. This is where, all right, this is the Chevron along here, the Ontario Veterinary Hospital, and the housing community that's gang stalking while I'm at the OVITT Family Community Library, which surrounds that Ontario Civic Center. They're all being prosecuted together. There's no airport that's beyond this housing community. There's no takeoffs over that. None of that. This is, and again, you're not doing anything legitimate stalking by helicopter either. You're clearly targeting, and it's a clear prosecution. And the corporate entity, the people of the state, are being federally prosecuted while you are the government engaging in that P.O.C. Okay, it is, by the way, 12:13 a.m. The Ontario International Airport does not have any takeoffs, nor is this a takeoff. This is that public nuisance. P.O.C. Ontario Veterinary Hospital is engaging in criminal activity. They engaged in battery with this entity. They're doing so as the mentally ill under a fake moon, stalking me with a whole fake environment. They're doing so with the expensive means of planes, and as you saw, by helicopter. And they're doing so while the entity is maintaining fake church services, while I'm inside of the bathroom of the Bethel congregation. They're monitoring my vagina, amplifying plane activity during the course of a church service while they're all monitoring spirits. They're demons, and they're literally defendants gang stalking. This is Bethel Congregation at 507 North Euclid Avenue, where the fake sun is present, and this is the evidence of that engineered environment while my shadow's on the wall here. This is the entity stalking. The population is being prosecuted. You are being federally prosecuted, and the government is serving to prosecute you, and you are gang stalking with that government. They're monitoring. You're stalking in your homes. You're stalking as businesses. This is P.O.C. It is currently 14 a.m. P.O.C. All right, pay attention to the means of surveillance. This is after 12 a.m. Parked at what is Unicare Health Center that is closed in the path while the entity is stalking by planes. Okay, this is the P.O.C. So let me show you, and the fake moon is showing you that they're stalking. They're monitoring its means of surveillance. The entity is stalking on the roads and the highways, stalking at the red lights. See, that's engaging what is a U-turn in the middle of the street, monitoring and stalking, and is engaging in this while I'm showing you the same conduct over the OVITT Family Community Library, where there also are no planes and no takeoffs. You're not headed to a destination. This is the evidence of an airport stalking. The airport is stalking with the population who are maintaining surveillance on the roads and the highways. Remember, the demons that engaged in molesting me with impossible light activity at this venue. All right, this is the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct while they are stalking under things like a fake moon. And my shadow is appearing in front of me on the wall. This is the entity that's stalking at what is the Ray-Bon mortgage, where the fake sun is present from morning until evening, as I've documented at the fake church over here. These are demons that are stalking on the roads and the highways. And where the government is stalking, the people of the state are being federally prosecuted, okay? That's the P.O.C. That's the entity following from place to place, the entity that just provided evidence. What I have hundreds of videos of. Psychopathic pacing by helicopter with the Ontario Police, and those are the demons of the Ontario Fire. Stalking as I track in my path, crossing path, those are demons. Those are the mentally ill that are engaging in what is kidnappings and criminal defamation, and this is a failed means of procuring a conservatorship or a power of attorney by gang stalking me as a whole government system. And the mentally ill are being prosecuted and exposed and diagnosed through their failed criminal activity that is not secretly underway at all. That's a big part of the failure, that the entity is clearly seen as engaging in what is mentally ill behavior and seeking to project their sickness onto the one whose money and assets they thought they were going to successfully get away with stealing. Stealing by defaming by virtue of the criminal acts committed, such as what the Baker Act is. This is the P.O.C. These are the demon possessed that are engaged in that, and it includes the means of surveillance that are going to be shut down: Ontario Fire, Ontario Police, AMR, the City of Ontario, the body of government that's sharing in that conspiracy with regard to murder. The entity that already lied and said that I was dead while they're stalking me like this, and this was committed because they intended to actually take my life while they've already stolen my money and profited from my death, gang stalked me, and compensated the entity that is gang stalking me now while they are engaging in this pattern of conduct together. That's the entity that's stalking. And this is the neighborhood that's going to be raided. This is the third party facilitating venue, North F Street and Euclid Avenue, North Euclid Avenue. This is the pattern of conduct. This is where the entity is stalking by commercial planes, stalking with the Ontario Fire Department, which is what they just did on video at Bethel Congregation. I captured the fake sun in the evening. So this was after 7 p.m. The fake sun is over me at this fake church at 8 o'clock in the morning. That's the entity that is stalking by planes under the fake moon while the people of the state are engaging in that P.O.C. criminal monitoring, psychopathic pacing. Very heavily documented at Raybon, Mortgage, and Premier, a facilitating venue, the corporate entity that is being prosecuted, and it's speaking to prosecute the whole city. Okay, P.O.C. It is, again, 12:20 a.m., where an entity of thieves, the mentally ill, that thought that they were going to kidnap me and get away with taking my life while they already lied and said that I was dead. So then they gang stalked me in order for the medical professionals under the Baker Act to kidnap me and then secretly take my life, just make me disappear. This is the entity that's going to be subject to martial law, and they are going to be involuntarily committed by things such as stalking with light. You will be committed by things such as stalking in planes and helicopters. That's psychopathic pacing around me while you're stalking. You're going to be committed while you're engaged in what is stalking with noise, the mentally ill behavior of the demons that are monitoring. While you're stalking under things like a whole fake environment, as a whole corrupt society, they will be subject to involuntary commitments. And it's starting with the Ontario Police Department in Ontario, California, with the people of the state who are maintaining ongoing surrounding light activity at 12 o'clock in the morning. Starbucks isn't open. Okay, they're monitoring. They're stalking in the path. This is P.O.C. That's the confirmation of it. That's not the moon that was sitting over the library, and now it's moving as I move. These are demons. That's the mentally ill. F Street, Euclid Avenue, stalking as I go. Wealthy entities stalking with planes. It's the P.O.C. It is currently, I want to be clear, you businesses are all being prosecuted for what is established as public corruption, and you've been profiting of it as a state system, as the United States government is engaging in surveillance. Your business is premised upon it, and I'm prosecuting you for it. This is P.O.C. I want to show you gang stalking. All right, loitering in the parking lot, stalking in the path, in the engineer light, doing so on behalf of the government that's stalking for 30 minutes by helicopter, doing so at 12 o'clock in the night, stalking a woman too, conspiring murder. These are the predators, and this is why the government's being prosecuted, and this is also why they're getting committed and they're going to prison. This is where the entity is stalking not only by helicopter, but stalking along Euclid Avenue by planes, and this is the entity that's doing so on behalf of that population. This is a white boy that knows exactly who I am, is stalking, and is also engaged in monitoring my vagina. That's what's lurking in the middle of the night, stalking, all right? Pulling up and anticipating, following, blocking my path in order to do so, in furtherance of murder with its co-defendants that are stalking on the roads and the highways. And this is why the Ontario Police is being disbanded. This is the P.O.C. This is terrorism while a police department is stalking with the population. This is the entity that's engaged in that while they're conspiring my murder, and you have some HIV-infected whore claiming to be me while she is engaging what is gang stalking and lying about my identity while the state engages in what is gang stalking, and that's supposed to result in what is my being defamed and secretly removed from existence while she is again going off with my money, my property, and doing so through fake conservatorships and power of attorneys, which Tracy Banks, Eric, all of these demons are profiting from. Yeah, this is the entity that's going to prison for it. Okay, this is the P.O.C. One Scully, one SCULLY. The vehicle is means as light activity, and this is all in the engineered environment. And this is while the entity is stalking by helicopter for 30 minutes. Alrighty, the entity is living in relevant position, gang stalking as a whole city, and that whole city is being prosecuted. They will not be getting any welfare. They're not getting any food stamps. They're going to be prosecuted as terrorists since they like to be outside. They're going to be living outside where they're engaging in what is that terrorism. His shadow is all over that wall. He's a stalker. That's the P.O.C. That's a co-conspirator of murder. That's a violent terrorist and a sex offender. That's the threat that the Ontario police pose while their demons stalking under a fake moon that is remaining over me and no longer remaining over the OVITT library where the entity just engaged in stalking by helicopter. That's the pattern of conduct. All right, this entity, this entire neighborhood is gang stalking, and it's being prosecuted while the entity is stalking me by helicopter anywhere in the city, as I'm documenting, and the entire population is being prosecuted, lurking in the parking lot, stalking. Like, that's relatable properties. I'm prosecuting you at 12 o'clock in the morning while the entity's gang stalking. 6ANB949. This is the P.O.C. Stalking in the path. They're targeting together. This is license plate. Right on time. Stalking, that's license plate. CWK0381 Arizona. That's a stalker waiting until I walk into the street to engage in that POC and stalking with the rest of the people of the state at the same venue. 9 Uncle Kelly Mary 295 is also monitoring, and they're doing so at the facilitating venue. And this is again the same facilitating venue where the entity was stalking at relatable properties by helicopter, where the entity is engaging in surveillance on the property, relatable properties. This is what you're being prosecuted for. This is how the corporate entities are engaging in the POC, and this is what you are criminally responsible for. The logo itself, the one that you are utilizing to make money, is the one that I am going to prosecute for criminal activity as a terrorist, providing a venue for the people of the state, that is the government, to engage in this very criminal activity, threatening the life and sharing in the conspiracy to commit murder, where the government is, by the way, at this venue under the fake moon. That is a specific environment, in the specific environment, sharing in what is that criminal surveillance to murder an American citizen, to levy war. All right, you are the defendant in that case. This is the POC, and these are the gang stalkers that are targeting together. They target as one, okay? And this is the fake moon over your apartment complex where you will be federally prosecuted while demons are engaging in the system of surveillance. And those demons are stalking in planes and helicopters. This is the POC. It's currently 12:23 a.m. while the entity is stalking, and as I captured the evidence of that as I go from place to place. And this is the evidence that is substantiating disbanding that city police, disbanding what is that city police that's going to be federally prosecuted for terrorism. This is criminal activity that police department is engaging in, and that police department is prosecuting relatable properties, as you were seeing how the corporate entities are being federally prosecuted, and it's not going to be based on your business hours. Okay, while your property, the venue, is used as a means of criminal activity, you are being prosecuted for that criminal activity that you are engaging in. You are the entity. So I'm going to break down what is the legal theory that's serving to prosecute you for your criminal activity. This is the POC. It is currently 12:29 a.m. Alrighty, I just want to show Amazon is stalking. Amazon is tracking my steps. The fake sun's over me, so this is stalking as the corporate entity is. In concert with the people, DINKX or DINCKX1. I'll get that license plate. The entity is gang stalking at Laurelwood Apartments. The corporate entity is stalking by maintaining what is the outward appearance of their business, what is the substantive engagement in the criminal system of monitoring. Amazon is stalking at the 7-Eleven where the fake sun is over me, at Woodside Senior Apartments, where the fake sun's over me yesterday morning as I captured during the 7 a.m. hour, where I'm already in Upland, California at this time, and the fake sun is over me at the Upland Public Library. Amazon represents the corporate entity, speaking to the pattern of conduct that all the people of the state are engaging in at their facilitating venues, and I'm also documenting the people that are stalking, maintaining light activity all around while I'm walking down the street. These demons right here engaging with a U-turn, stalking in the path, and Amazon coming in this direction, tracking. This is the entity that's engaging in that terrorism, while the entity is stalking like what you see at OVITT Family Community Library, stalking by helicopters, stalking me by planes, stalking me where they reside and on the roads and the highways, under the absurdity of what is an entire fake sun. That fake selecting off of the windshield while I'm in Ontario, California, license 5 Robert Thomas 372, while they are stalking on the roads and the highways at Palm and Fern Avenue, where I am present during the 7 a.m. hour, and the Ontario police are engaged in criminal summoning right here at this intersection record, where the entity is stalking where the fake sun is and is flying over the top of it. The entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct, just like in Upland, California, that is the same exact POC where they are gang stalking Laurelwood Apartments. This is that is the entity that engaged in. I want to be clear, Amazon Prime engaged in psychological torture and conspiring my murder, doing so under the corrupt purposes of the Baker Act. The Baker Act is a criminal act committed legislatively by a gang stalking state, a gang stalking government that's engaged in this surveillance while targeting someone who is wealthy. That is myself. where they're engaging what is targeting and stalking you in this manner is absurd. The reason why the absurdity is present is because it's the government that's itself that's engaging what is creating laws in order to, quote unquote, legally steal from you by legally defaming you, where you assert that a government, that a people, that, in other words, demons are engaging in exactly what they are engaging in. And this is Amazon engaging in terrorism, flying over my head under the fake sun, stalking with light, demon getting out of the vehicle and pulling out packages, is gang stalking with the people. And this is the basis of federal prison. Amazon Prime engaging in terrorism and psychological torture and the conspiracy to murder me for years. And its employees are going to federal prison for this. They're engaging in criminal summoning. They're engaging in all of the pattern of conduct. Literally, the only difference is that it's not a difference. You're identifying them by the logo, and this corporate entity is being federally prosecuted. License 82276 George 3 with Laurelwood Apartments, where the entity is gang stalking, and that targeting is also proven while the entity just flew over the top of my head while I'm on the sidewalk at what is Laurel and F Street. Very targeting. This is where the entity is engaged in stalking by helicopter, following me, gang stalking under a fake sun, which you are aware of. This is F Street and, this is Euclid Avenue. Up this way, as I'm walking this way, this is F Street and Euclid, where you already know the fake sun is present. 11 right now, so while I'm at Bethel Congregation, you already know that the fake sun is present. Amazon Prime is gang stalking under the subdued fake sun, which does not help the case against Amazon Prime. Terrorist leaders such as Bezos are being federally prosecuted as engaging in terrorism through corporate entities that are engaging in stalking. The entity is stalking flying over my head by aircraft. Amazon is stalking in the city of Ontario with the entity, and is doing so as demons that are representing that corporate entity. That pattern of conduct that Amazon is keeping me under surveillance and the evidence against it under surveillance while they still engage in that pattern of conduct. This is a RICO case, and they're not keeping their profits. And I will be federally prosecuted, and employees like that are going to prison. That's the P.O.C. That's the entity that's engaged in this harassment while they're stalking. 82276 George 3, that's federal prison. Just want to be clear. They do that with the gang stalking police like Ontario police. They're going to prison. All right, they will not be treated any differently because they are not different. That's the entity, and this is, again, speaking to what is repealing the Baker Act, criminal activity by a corrupt gang stalking state, where you are not diagnosing and you are in no position to even assess or mention the character of a targeted individual that you are targeting, and that's relevant to the absurd stalking by helicopters and by planes. What I'm documenting, this pattern of conduct, and then the entity, remember what they're doing to me. There is no evidence, there is no mental illness on my part. In fact, the entity is mentally ill. But not only did they manufacture and engineer that information in order to utilize what is a criminal act, the Baker Act, that is the proof to you who are witnessing me prosecute a demonic entity that is a corrupt government that creates legislation in order to legally do so. It's a means of targeting. And it is a system. That's why you have corporate entities like Amazon Prime engaging in that, in concert to that, doing so pursuant to what is surveillance. There is no basis for the Baker Act whatsoever because of the surveillance system that is underway. This is the fake sun that's right over my head as I'm going toward what is Bethel Congregation, where you already know the fake sun is over me at this venue before 11 o'clock in the morning and well after into the evening, which is what I documented yesterday, the P.O.C. They're engaged in all surveillance. All this surveillance, sitting outside of a church in the vehicle, gang stalking, using the vehicle while you're crossing path. A bunch of demons that are engaging in that, and the government is facilitating it by utilizing corrupt means of legislation, which are serving to defame you, steal from you, and gang stalk you. And I want to be clear, because your wants to steal from you and monitor your vagina, that does not create mental illness. In fact, they will be diagnosed while they are gang. That's the P.O.C. It is currently 11:49 a.m. under a fake sun, where the mentally ill are engaging in that criminal activity. And this is speaking to repealing the Baker Act. This is P.O.C. staring like they're oblivious, like they're perplexed. That's the entity that's going to be diagnosed with that. That's the P.O.C. You're not perplexed under the fake sun. You're not perplexed when the entity's stalking by helicopters and planes. You're not perplexed when you are in that environment. And staring is stalking obsessively in the path. That's all that is. That's the P.O.C. It is currently 11:49 at the Raymond Premier Mortgage, where the fake sun rises and sets. Still, no confusion. This is the entity that is stalking and monitoring me. Staring does not make you look innocent. You're looking psychotic, and you will be diagnosed with that. This is the entity that's engaged in that. Instead of dealing with what is minding your business, like your waistlines, this is the entity that's engaging what is gang stalking me with Amazon Prime, facilitating conduct, trying to look like you're confused while you're gang stalking. It's the P.O.C. Those third parties are targeting with the whole entity.
Okay, this is the P.O.C. Everybody knows what Starbucks is doing. This is that same parking lot. They're gang stalking, 5SRR414. And they are embarrassed. When the entity is embarrassed and caught and documented, they look stupid. They smile on their faces. They pull out a stroller. They sit there and act like nothing is happening. This is that entity that's doing so, and it is under the Baker Act that is being repealed. The entity stalking by 20 minutes by helicopter last night. The entity has failed in seeking to establish anybody's mental illness, let alone making up information about mine, while you're stalking in this manner with a population of demons and vagina monitors. P.O.C. That's the entity that's engaging in that. I want to be clear. The entity that's maintaining that pattern of conduct can look however they want. They are being federally prosecuted, and it is going to be used to diagnose the psychopathic entity that's engaging in that. They're not looking perplexed when the entity is stalking by helicopter for 25 minutes. Nobody looks confused then. When they are being documented, when they're being identified in a manner that they do not anticipate and that they don't like because they think they're not supposed to be identified, they are psychopaths that are delusional. This is the P.O.C. Fake son is over me. Subdued right now. This is already establishing that as the case. Bethel Congregational Church. This is Raymond. This is already documented. All of this facilitating venue. Raybon Mortgage. Fake sun rising. Fake sun setting. Documenting just the other night the fake sun setting right here. This is the entity that's gang stalking by helicopter in this same neighborhood last night. This is the entity gang stalking by helicopter right here at this fake church. Gang stalking me by helicopter at the building where they're in their vehicle, stalking me, getting out of their vehicle, crossing path, looking perplexed is not a defense. It's going to be used to diagnose you. You're going to be focused and you're going to be targeted more as you stand there on camera and you are being analyzed as you're engaged in criminal activity with your co-defendants who have provided evidence against you. Amazon, the military flying over my head, the fake sun that you see shining, the fake sun that is under no circumstances ever going to be in this video if that was a natural environment in Upland, California at the Upland Public Library. This is the P.O.C. It's 11:51 a.m. The entity has the fake sun right over the top of my head. This is P.O.C. Currently 12:47 p.m. This is all stalking by the entity. All right, and this is the third-party facilitating venue, Bethel Congregational, which is United Church of Christ. It's a cult. So is the United States government, the United States military, homosexuals that are gang stalking me. It's also a cult. The entity is maintaining this pattern of conduct in an environment where you are understanding that they are all tied together. None of these are strangers, and they're all sharing a behavioral pattern, which is mentally ill and deranged, and it's criminal. This is the fake sun over me. In the previous video where Amazon Prime is stalking right over at Laurelwood Apartments, who is getting a playlist with regard to notice that you are hereby being provided, that you are conspiring my murder, gang stalking with the military, that's stalking me by planes and helicopters in the city of Ontario, including at the facilitating venue of Laurelwood Apartments, which is not a private property. They are sharing in criminal surveillance with the people of the state, including the corporate entity that includes Amazon Prime, the people of the state, who engage in nothing other than monitoring evidence, and that's what's behind what is not the weather, not the natural environment, but covering up the fake sun. And like I stated in that video where I stood right here across the street, the fake sun was over my head then, and it's over my head now, and the entity is keeping this fake sun over me, which I will remind you about, while the entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct, targeting me at a fake church in concert with the government that is stalking for over 20 minutes by helicopter last night. This is an entity that is gang stalking me with that same government. This is the government that's maintaining what is surveillance under the guise of what is a church. This is a fake church, not the actual church. These are demons that are all monitoring me. And they're doing so pursuant to knowledge of who I am, not because I attended the fake church, but because they're engaged in criminal surveillance. And that's why the fake sun is over me at this fake church. And the fake sun is over me with regard to what is criminal activity by that establishment, the corrupt entity, which is Bethel Congregational Church. Fake sun's over me as I step outside of the door on the side of this church. And this is relevant to the video that I referenced this Bethel Congregational at, where Amazon Prime, the fake sun is over the top of my head in this previous video right here. This is captured at 11:43 a.m. This is the entity that is gang stalking me, literally following, tracking my steps is Amazon Prime, while the entity is engaging in what is stalking me. This is what you see flying over the top of my head. Flying over the top of it. The entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct, just like in Upland, California, that is the same exact P.O.C.
Right,
where they are.
In case you did not see that, this is the entity.
Where the entity is stalking, where the fake sun is, and is flying over the top of it. The entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct, just like in Upland, California, that is the same exact P.O.C.
That's the U.S. military that's stalking me by planes, targeting, which is also shown through a fake sun that you are covering up in an unnatural environment where the fake sun is rising and setting at the same address.
Torture and the conspiracy to murder me.
Prosecution of the corrupt entity Amazon Prime that's engaging what is using a business to engage in surveillance, where its employees are conspiring murder. And this is relevant to the legislation that is a criminal act by a gang stalking entity
the Baker Act, okay, where you are gang stalking, and that is designed to steal from a wealthy woman like myself, steal my identity as being wealthy, and engage in what is criminally defaming my character under corrupt means of what is a criminal act by a government, which is legislation that's entirely invalid and unconstitutional. And it is an illegitimate interest of the government that is stalking me in planes and helicopters and stalking in concert with the population, maintaining corrupt business practices. It's an illegitimate interest under the state and federal constitutions while it is engaging in surveillance. It is a means of doing exactly what this entity has failed to secretly do. Get away with murdering me after lying and stating that I was already dead with regard to this government that has already stolen my wealth and assets, and engaged in what is this gang stalking system in furtherance of the conspiracy to commit murder and to steal all of my property. Get, in other words, a conservatorship of power of attorney, while those that are in the medical field who are gang stalkers are asserting that I'm their patient, that they diagnosed me, that I'm mentally ill, that they have a medical opinion about me, while they've been engaged in gang stalking with the entity that is always stalking and kidnapping and criminally defaming, waging malicious assertions while you are stalking as a police department, as a courthouse, and as a sheriff's department. And you are engaging in that when you are a gang stalking medical professional that is kidnapping and gang stalking in the hospitals, in the courts, with the sheriffs. This is the entity that is engaging what is this under the Baker Act. And in this video that I captured where Amazon Prime is gang stalking, Amazon Prime's doing so while the fake sun, you can see it, and it's covered up as I progress through this video. And as I stated in the video, while you're looking stupid and you're gang stalking under the fake sun, you will be diagnosed and you will be committed. It is not going to be based on your facial expression. In fact, your facial expressions will serve to have you committed. There is no getting out of what is the direct evidence, not circumstantial, the direct evidence of what is targeting, which is deducible from an environment that defies nature, and the demons whose behavior defies nature, stalking with impossible light. This is the facilitating venue, as I documented last night. North Euclid Avenue and G Street, North Euclid Avenue and F Street, where the entity is stalking by helicopter at reliable properties that are being prosecuted, just like Amazon Prime. The entity is engaging what is stalking me, where I am at this location now, and the entity is covering up the fake sun while they are gang stalking in a church service. And while they were being documented, the entity started stalking by helicopter. These are demons, and they're going to prison. This is systematic facilitation. They were stalking by helicopter just like they were last night at OVITT Library, the same exact surveillance. They are going to federal prison. This is the entity that is gang stalking, and literally the maintenance of the business, my documentation of you systematically being present, gang stalking and monitoring me is the evidence that's going to put you away. This is an entity that's engaging this with those that are over and under majority. They're doing so while they are engaged in federal stalking, monitoring with communication devices with demons that are under the age of majority. Taught to gang stalk. Look to the side while you're stalking in the path under a fake sun. Demons that are gang stalking with their kids. They're mentally ill. They're engaged in this criminal system, and they're doing so obsessively. As I walk outside to show you the fake sun right over the top of my head, and they're inside gang stalking, monitoring, which is psychopathic and sexually perverted. This is the entity that's engaged in that, and you are mindful of what it is that I've already captured, which is the evidence of the fake sun. So let me remind you what I documented last night. We can go right all through my evidence, because this is all prosecution of an entity that was obsessively stalking last night by helicopter. Had a field day, all right? The entity is going, this is the prosecution of the government utilizing the Baker Act, which is to be repealed. It is an unconstitutionally vague and illegitimate interest of the government to maintain criminal surveillance and then engage in what is using it as a means to literally defame your character in order to steal from you and to compensate the people of the state who are gang stalking you. This is Bethel Congregational Church last night, okay, at 7:35 p.m. I am at Bethel Congregational Church right now at 12:54 p.m. where the entity is engaging in. There's no covering up the fake sun. There's no facial expression that's going to supersede or cause the evidence to be contradicted or rebutted. The entity's engaging in what is delusional conduct, and they're also the demon possessed that think that they can control how they are being discerned as demons, and you don't control that. The Holy Spirit is the one that is a higher power, the highest. There is none above Christ Jesus, and the Holy Spirit is discerning demons who think that their facial expressions are going to contend with your ability to discern them, and you are learning about the delusion, the mental illness of the demon possessed, the people of the state that are being federally prosecuted for stalking under a fake sun, the evidence of surveillance, while the entity provides obvious evidence of stalking in planes and helicopters. This is the P.O.C. Bethel Congregational Church. They're going to prison, okay? That's the pattern of conduct. It is currently 12:54 p.m.